distinguished guests, honorable representatives of government, members of the justice, law, and sector order, members of the Uganda Law Society, representatives of civil society, development partners, members of the legal fraternity, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to this breakfast dialogue and very importantly to the launch of our Q1 and 2 Rule of Law report by the Uganda Law Society covering the period between January to June 2026. I am delighted to be before you by the name Robert Benon Jirua, Rule of Law and Litigation Officer. I would like to begin in a very humble way to convey my sincere apologies for our little delay. We have had a few challenges and would like to request that you indulge us. But now that we're here and the smile for making time. We thank God for thus far that we have come, this 13th day of August 2026. Thank you once again. We are going to have a program that runs as follows. First and foremost, we shall have an opening prayer from within the building, and thereafter we shall have opening remarks from the Chief Executive Officer who is in the building, and thereafter we shall have opening remarks from a member of the council, and thereafter we shall have the presentation of the Rule of Law report, and thereafter we shall have a break tea, and thereafter we shall have a plenary discussion and reactions that shall be undertaken by all participants. And thereafter we shall have a resolution and a way forward that shall also be undertaken by all participants, after which we shall close the day. Once again, we'd like to welcome you to this session. We are overly excited to have you present. I would like to welcome Mr. Jude Echebu, who is going to lead us through the opening prayer so as to welcome the presence of the Lord into the building, so as to have a beautiful deliberation. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robert Jirua, the President of the Uganda Law Society, the Vice President here present with us, members of the council, our beloved CEO also here present, members of human rights and the rule of law defenders, members of the Uganda Law Society, our dear advocates, and other players in delivering justice and the rule of law in this nation, here present and those online. I greet you in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm Echebu Jude Emiru, as Robert just said, and it's an honor and privilege to lead us in a word of prayer today as we attend the launch of the Rule of Law report. On that note, I would humbly request us all to rise up on our feet and humble ourselves for a word of prayer in honor of the Lord. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we do know that you are the custodian and the author of justice You are the source of all the laws that we have, and it is you that gives us the humanity to look at each other in a way of love and in a way of being humane, O Lord. So today, as we launch the Rule of Law Report, Lord, we dedicate this day into your hands. We thank you, O God, Father, for all of us here present. We thank you even for the team that is online. We thank you for our esteemed guest. We thank you, O God, Father, for the Uganda Law Society and all the other players in the justice sector. Lord, as we have this launch, we pray that you lead in everything. May everything work well from our power and all the resources that we are using today. Lord, may you guide the discourse, may you guide our discussions, Lord. And Father, we continue to dedicate Uganda into your hands, that you indeed will uphold us and you will aid us in upholding the law, in upholding human rights, and making sure that there is indeed rule of law in this country for the honor and the glory of your name. Father, we thank you because you know that even as we have this discourse, even as we deliberate, even as we grow as a society and as a nation, we know, oh God, that you are going to continue to aid us. You are going to continue to support us in being able to do the right thing for our neighbor. We thank you, and it is in the mighty name of Jesus Christ that we pray and believe. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jude, for that wonderful prayer. All has been put into the hands of the Lord, and more than sure that his presence is here. Before we get further, we would like to, in the spirit of nationalism and in a very organized way, request that we take to the stand once again and sing the national anthem and that of the East Africa. Please.
Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tukilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, jumuiya yetu.
Thank you, please. You may be seated. As in a very first way, we would like to welcome our CEO, Ms. Christina Wari, who is in the building to welcome us with welcome remarks. Thank you.
Our distinguished guests today, representatives of the government ministries, agencies and departments, development partners, Uganda Law Society Governing Council, online and present here, members of the civil society, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of the Uganda Law Society, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to the launch of the Uganda Law Society first and second quarter Rule of Law Report. This report is part of the Uganda Law Society continuing commitment to promote a rule of law in Uganda. As a national bar association, the Uganda Law Society has a statutory mandate under Section 3 of the Uganda Law Society Act to advise government, the courts, the public on matters governing or touching the law. We therefore have a role to play in protecting constitutionalism, advancing human rights, promoting access to justice, and holding institutions to the standards established by the law. The report provides an assessment of the state of rule of law during the period, examining developments under the 4 key pillars. And the pillars are human rights, checks and balances, transparency and accountability, due process, and climate legality. The documents both show progress in areas requiring attention, drawing on legal frameworks, judicial decisions, institutional development, and experiences across the country. Our purpose is not merely to identify outcomings, but is to encourage constructive dialogue, strengthen institutions, and contribute to practical reforms that can improve the administration of justice and protection of human rights. The Uganda Law Society remains committed to using research advocacy, strategic litigation, legal aid, professional development, and public engagement to promote rule of law. We believe that a strong rule of law culture requires the participation of all actors, including state institutions, the legal profession, civil society, the private sector, development partners, and most importantly, the public. I therefore commend the Uganda Law Society Governing Council, the Rule of Law Department, and all those who contributed to preparation of this report. I also thank our partners, the development partners and stakeholders, whose continued support enables the society to undertake this important role. As we launch this report, I invite all of us to engage with its findings, critical and constructively. May this report serve not only as a record of where we stand, but also a basis for meaningful action towards a Uganda in which the law is respected, human rights are protected, and justice is accessible to all. I once again welcome you and thank you for joining us as we launch the Q1 and 2026 Rule of Law report. I wish you a fruitful day. Thank you.
I would like to indulge you to give the CEO a bigger round of applause. She is the mother of the house, and the words of wisdom she has given us to launch the report, but also to set the protocol. We want to respect each and everybody that is here. We know you have come in representation of a different department, justice, law, and sector, and other sector. We know it's very, very important that we want to engage with this at breakfast dialogue. So we're here to ask the questions and would like to make sure the answers are gotten from within without necessarily leaving any sector aside. For those that are joining us online, we're very grateful. Thank you so much for making it. It has been the habit of the Uganda Law Society to engage in digital transformation. We actually have so many stalwarts of digital transformation in here, so we thank you. Your presence online also means a lot to us. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome the Vice President, the most perpendicular advocate, Andrew Simwe, who, we're going to have opening remarks from the Secretary General of the Uganda Law Society, Mr. Advocate Sally Babu, who is going to set for us the pace on what is going to be discussed hereafter. Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary General, Acting Secretary General of the Uganda Law Society, Advocate Sally Babu. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I stand on the protocol laid down by the CEO. It is my distinguished honor to welcome you to launch yet another edition of the Uganda Law Society Rule of Law Report launch. For over a decade, the Society has consistently produced quarterly Rule of Law reports, creating an institutional record of Uganda's experience with constitutionalism, human rights, justice, and the exercise of public power. This continuity is important because it allows us not only to document individual events, but also identify patterns, assess progress, and draw attention to issues that require sustained action. This year has already been particularly significant for our country. The year began with the 2026 general elections, an important moment in our constitutional and democratic journey as a country. In recognition of its mandate to promote the rule of law and contribute to protection of democratic processes, the Uganda Law Society undertook election monitoring and observance and subsequently launched its election observation report in February, which was made public. This demonstrates something fundamental about the Uganda Law Society. We take documentation seriously as an institution. We take our mandate seriously as well. We do not wait until the end of a crisis to begin recording what has happened. We have a responsibility to document developments as they occur as Uganda Law Society and provide an evidence-based account of the state of rule of law and use that evidence to inform advocacy and institutional reform. This responsibility arises not only from our professional mandate, but also from our statutory duty to the public. The law exists to protect the people, regulate the exercise of power, and provide mechanisms of resolving disputes and seeking justice. As the professional body representing advocates in Uganda, Uganda Law Society has the responsibility to speak when these principles are threatened and to acknowledge progress where institutions and individuals uphold them. The report we launch today continues this long-standing commitment. The events documented in this report tell us something about the state of our legal and constitutional order as a country. Some demonstrate resilience and progress within several of our institutions, and others expose the weaknesses that require urgent attention. I want to emphasize that documentation is not an end in itself. A report is valuable when it leads to reflection and action. The findings and recommendations contained in this report should therefore inform policy discussions, institutional responses, advocacy, and reform. They should also provide a basis for holding institutions and public officials accountable where the law has not been followed. As we undertake our statutory duty as Uganda Law Society, we recognize the important role played by the judiciary, parliament, government institutions, and independent constitutional bodies, as well as civil society organizations, development partners, the media, and the legal profession. The rule of law is ultimately a collective responsibility. Its protection requires institutions that are independent and accountable, officials who exercise power within the law, and citizens who are able to claim and defend their rights. I once again thank you all for honoring our invitation and being present today. I also thank our members and partners, stakeholders who continue to support our work. We value your partnership and collaboration. As we launch this report, let us make a commitment in our different capacities to promote a society in which human rights are protected and justice is accessible to all. It is my honor to officially open this occasion and welcome you all to the launch of the Uganda Law Society Rule of Law Report of the first and second quarter. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Secretary General. Your presence here also shows that there's a lot of order. We appreciate your remarks. Clearly, you are asking us to pause as a country, take stock of where we are, and ask some very difficult but necessary questions about the state of rule of law and constitutionalism in Uganda. We have all bore witness about what has been happening for the past 6 months, and none other than the Uganda Law Society that was amongst the few beginning from January to have observer status to analyze what transpired from the beginning, especially the general elections that of course all of us partook of, going down to so many other events. And we are here to, particularly in this very, very critical moment, ask those very important questions about the health of rule of law and constitutionalism in Uganda. It will not be my burden or task to present exactly what we're talking about in as far as the last 6 months are concerned, because as the Secretary General has put it, it is in writing, it is out there for posterity, and it has been seen, and we have been seen to exceptionally execute our mandate as provided for under Section 3C and D of the Uganda Law Society Act, Cap 305. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like for you to join me to welcome the most perpendicular Vice President of the Uganda Law Society to present the Quarter 1 and 2 Rule of Law report for us to launch as is required. Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President.
Thank you very much, Robert, for that introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me stand on the protocol that has been highlighted by our Chief Executive Officer, Christina Ori, and also add my voice to that of the Secretary to bring you warm greetings in a special way from the Radical Nuba Governing Council, particularly the President of the Radical Nuba, Isaac Chimaze Semakade, and colleagues on Council. And once again also do welcome you in a special way to the Uganda Law Society House for this very special event. Without missing anyone, I am so glad that we have representatives from the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, from the UPDF, from the Uganda Police Force, Uganda Prison Services, from the Electoral Commission, the Inspector General of Government, Inspectorate, UN Women Foundation for Human Rights Initiative, and LASPNet, Tomorrow People Africa, AgroRef, from the Law Development Center, and so many other institutions. Personally, it gives me great pleasure to know that while we're making or having these discussions, we have the important people, the important stakeholders, the important institutions in one room. That is why I do not take this for granted and your presence for granted. Colleagues, as the background has been given, but again, also if I move on, the most important people, the Fourth Estate, who have always been here with us, who have always assisted us in, projecting the happenings in this country. You're the most important stakeholder, I must say, and we do welcome you. as the CEO and Robert, as well as the Secretary, Babu, as they've given background to our activity today, the key highlights of our first and second quarter rule of law reports are, the things that we've been seeing. We are so lucky that during our time, we've had weekly R&B engagements. So most of the happenings have been discussed and talked about in real time. On a weekly basis, we have a platform here where we speak about these issues, and we have engagements with the public. So it has helped us in closing that gap where we've managed to ensure that people are not kept in the dark. That notwithstanding, we still have to fulfill our mandate as the Law Society to account to the public. And through this, we have to publish and document and present our quarterly rule of law reports. The difference is that this time around, we've had 2 quarters combined. But again, like I said, we've not missed a lot since we've had, every week we have these discussions and engagements. Now, the key highlights of our first and second quarter rule of law report, the report really assesses the state of the rule of law in Uganda between January and June of 2026. This covers main pillars of 1, human rights; 2, checks and balances; 3, transparency and accountability; and due process, as well as the climate of legality as the 4th pillar. Now, this report documents both the positive developments and continuing challenges, the interventions undertaken by the Uganda Law Society so far, as well as recommendations, the ones we could get, hoping that the members in the room, the other representatives of institutions, can also contribute to the recommendations that we've highlighted. But before I go into the deeper discussion, we must also know that this has been a special year. It's a year that has been marked by significant electoral and human rights concerns, because as we ended the previous year and entering the new year, the biggest aspect was the general elections, as well as other electoral processes. And the fact that it happened at the beginning of the year, we continued to see serious developments, serious concerns as a result of the electoral process. So you'll notice part of the report, or the bigger part of it, and some of the concerns stem from that period, the electoral period, the happenings, and the challenges we faced through that. Now, like I said, this report is structured in those 4 pillars. That's the same order. We talked about the positive and negative developments under those 4 pillars. I'll speak to the first part of it being the positive developments in the first and second quarter. And we've noted instances of, where the rule of law, where human rights have been promoted in the country. And we take note of that. The first one being the Constitutional Court judgment nullifying the Computer Misuse Amendment Act of 2022. And this went further in promoting the right to freedom of expression. As you may be aware, that on the 17th of March 2026, the Constitutional Court delivered a landmark judgment on, in consolidated petitions of Uganda Law Society versus the Attorney General. That was petition number 42 of 2022. And Alternative Digitalk Limited and others versus AG. That was Constitutional Petition 34 of 2022. And others. Now, specifically and more particularly, Section 11 on authorized access of personal data, including voice or video recordings and sharing them. Section 23 on sharing unauthorized information about children. Section 26 on hate speech. Section 27 on unsolicited information. Section 28 on malicious information. Section 29 on misuse of social media, and Penal Code and the Penal Code Section 162 on libel were rendered null and void by the Constitutional Court. Now, as you may note that before this period, we had several Ugandans who are being prosecuted, who had been charged and are being tried, others already serving sentences in courts of law, despite the fact that we had this, petition pending. In fact, at some point, we had attempted to file an application to stay the implementation of this act, but that was never listened to. It was never heard. And notable figures like Malema Birizi were then being charged and tried under that law. And we felt that the fact that the Constitutional Court came out to nullify the law and also issue a permanent injunction restraining the respondents and all government agencies from enforcing the provisions of these sections was a step in the right direction in as far as promoting the rights to freedom of expression. So that is a positive development in the area of promotion of the rule of law. The second positive is about the enactment of new legislations. The first of all being the Magistrates Court Amendment Act 2026, which development saw the enlargement of the jurisdiction of the Chief Magistrate to handle matters of the pecuniary value of 200 million from 50 million Uganda shillings, and also making other, adjustments in the law. So we feel that these reforms collectively strengthen the capacity of Magistrates Court to serve as an effective first point of contact within the justice system. As you are aware, we do not have high court circuits in every region, and at least magistrates courts are closer to the people. And this, definitely believe will lead to improvement on the aspect of access to justice, since these magistrates courts are closer to the people. And it also matches with the developments of, the growth. Because, right now, even in local areas, it's very hard to find property which is less than 50 million shillings. We believe it also reduces the pressure on the High Court and will go a long way in resolving the challenge of backlog that we've been talking about and bringing justice closer to the people. Another legislation is the Employment Amendment Act of 2026, which amendment came into force on the 5th of June 2026. Now, among the key reforms are stronger safeguards against workplace harassment, intimidation, clearer procedural requirements governing termination and dismissal of employees, among others. So, from a rule of law perspective, the amendment really strengthened procedural fairness by requiring employers to observe due process before dismissing employees. This had been a serious issue, a human rights issue, where people would keep running to courts and other institutions, and it was increasingly becoming a challenge. But with this amendment, we feel there has been some bit of streamlining. Now, under the aspect of accountability and transparency being another pillar, still on the positive, the establishment of regional Court of Appeal circuits. We saw a notable positive development in Uganda's justice sector, where we had establishment of 8 regional Court of Appeal circuits, and this, we believe, does address a long-standing barriers to access to appellate justice by decentralizing the Court of Appeal, reducing the cost of litigants to move from wherever they come from to Kampala all the time. And this, again, this initiative is grounded in the Constitution, creation of Court of Appeal Circuits Practice Direction 2025, Legal Notice number 21 of 2025. And seeing these courts being established in Arua, Fort Portal, Gulu, Jinja, Masaka, Mbale, Mbarara, and Mubende will enable litigants from closer areas to have access to court. As you may be aware, when you look at the last Judicial Performance Report of 2025. The Court of Appeal had a huge backlog, and mainly someone would even tell you if you file a case in Court of Appeal, you need to wait for about 6 years or more for the case to be fixed for hearing. So we see this as a deliberate move in providing accountability and transparency from the judiciary. The reports of 2024-2025, we saw the Court of Appeal having 15,082 cases with 3,235 cases registered in the financial year of 2024-2025 alone, and 11,848 cases carried forward from the previous year. So accordingly, the pending cases were at 52.08%, which was worrying, and we believe this development probably will resolve that problem. We've also seen developments in establishment of other high court circuits like the Wakiso High Court Circuit, which is located in Aweru, and this is also aimed at reducing on the pressure of the case backlog in these courts. Now, another development in as far as accountability and transparency is concerned is the full operationalization of ICMIS in Uganda's judiciary. We feel this was a significant reform in Uganda's justice sector, as we saw the implementation of Administrative Circular Number 1 of 2026 by the Judiciary of Uganda, issued by the Chief Justice on the 17th of February, which mandates full immigration and operationalization of the electronic court case management system in courts that already have ICMIS. Now, we know that this ICMIS platform is really designed to manage the entire court process, including filing, service, even hearing of court cases. Now, unfortunately, we also have the downsides of this, and where this reform, we believe, is aimed at strengthening efficiency and align Uganda's judiciary with modern digital justice system. It also provides implementation challenges. And statistics show that internet use in Uganda is still very low, especially in rural areas. And if you look at the, as of May 2026, readiness assessment by PM Digital Law Hub, and we are glad to have Mr. Mchibi with us here, whose team made this assessment. A big thank you to you. It shows and indicates that only 52.9% had received formal training, and an overwhelming 97.2% experienced difficulties in accessing the system. So this is a system that increasingly requires online access, but it may also disadvantage rural and low-income litigants who cannot afford. But then again, in the recent past, we've also witnessed the misuse of the system by some judicial officers, where there's no transparency in as far as the allocation of the files is concerned, the hearing of the cases. There's still that aspect of human, of individual and human aspects, who still choose when to have the matter fixed or not. And in most cases, you've seen people follow up with, I want to have my case fixed. I need to, even the allocation system is really not transparent. And we've seen some people have suffered injustices as a result of this ICMIS. And we do believe that for it to achieve its intended goal, a lot has to be done to make sure it does not become the opposite of what we intend. And under that, we made a few recommendations, which will be found in the report. The same report that we'll intend to share on our website and also on our other platforms. Another positive, and those recommendations are aimed at, covering the gaps, because we know we need this transformation, we need this ICMIS, we want it to work, because that's where the world is headed. But then again, we must resolve the challenges so as to have it effectively operational. Now, the other development under the limb of accountability and transparency, we have the IGG probing parliament officials over mismanagement of public funds. That is an aspect of accountability which we do applaud, and we believe that the investigations and subsequent action against senior officials in parliament and in other public offices, which we've seen happening increasingly, is a positive step towards strengthening transparency and accountability in public institutions, which has also been an outcry. And also because we believe some of these public institutions are dealing with public funds and they must be accountable to the members of the public. So that is also a positive step. Again, under accountability, we have the Uganda Police having launched the Uganda Police Annual Crime Report of 2025, which also enhances accountability. The Uganda Police Force launched this report on annual crime and traffic safety of 2025. That was on the 30th of March 2026. And the report provided detailed account of crime trends, reported cases, arrests, prosecution, and traffic-related incidents recorded during the year. Now, this is really an important accountability tool because it places information on policing and public safety in the public domain and also allows citizens, policymakers, civil society organizations to assess the performance of the institution, but not only that, also to guide the policymakers on where we need to have an improvement or the interventions that should be made when you have, rural information. So we applaud the Uganda Police for doing that. Now, that is the end of the positive developments. Now, the negative developments in the first and second quarter, which probably most of us know, some of us don't want to hear these things being talked about. And again, some of us hide our heads in the sands, even when we know the situation is really dire. Under the pillar of human rights, during this period, we witnessed, first of all, we know that human rights remains a fundamental pillar of rule of law and democratic governance in Uganda. We are living under constitutional democracy, as per our 1995 constitution, which guarantees a wide range of rights: civil, political, economic, social, cultural, name them. And as a country, we've had a lot of legislation. I think we probably have the highest number of legislation in operationalizing the provisions of the constitution. Now, despite this comprehensive legal framework, both regional, we have local, regional, and international instruments that we've ratified as a country, committing to promoting these rights and respecting these very guarantees. The human rights situation in Uganda during this period continued to present a significant concern, a very big concern for us. And various reports from civil society organizations, oversight institutions, the media indicate recurring violations affecting civil liberties, access to justice, vulnerable populations, and accountability of state actors, especially security agencies and other government institutions. The first of all being electoral injustice. Like I said at the beginning, this was an election year, and the electoral injustice posed excessive use of force, killings, and human rights violations during the process. Well, we saw the injustices during the pre-electoral period, which moved from, towards the end of last year up to the beginning of the year. And the general elections themselves, the period was marked by injustices from, the raising questions relating to the protection of electoral rights, accountability of security agencies, transparency of the electoral processes, and the ability of citizens and political actors to participate freely in this democratic process. Now, we know that we had scenarios of so many people having picked nomination forms, others being denominated in a rare, process that probably had never witnessed before. And some of them are still, grappling with this because they felt they didn't get the justice. But then again, the general election campaign period was dominated by relentlessness, targeting the opposition and its leadership, their candidates, their supporters. And across multiple districts and across the country, we witnessed opposition campaign activities being blocked, violently dispersed, or subjected to excessive police and military force. We saw heavy presence of the military in the electoral processes across the country, which we believe is a concern. And we took note of that. We had to document that. Particularly in some districts, the opposition candidates were not even allowed to campaign or hold their rallies. And the report highlights the examples and the names and the areas with clear facts and figures. We also witnessed killings during this election period. In Tambala district, for example, reports show that 7 people were killed at the home of the former MP, Mwanga Chivumbi, on the 15th of January. This was the day after the elections. And what is really absurd and perturbing is the fact that we've not even seen or had the police investigating these deaths or trying to hold anyone accountable for having, because we know there was a shooting, people are shot and dead. Instead, the cases we are seeing are, against Mwanga Chivumbi and the other people, but we've not seen any investigations being conducted, meaning there's a deliberate move to avoid accountability, similar to what we saw in the previous elections, 2021, where people were killed, but up to now, we've not seen that accountability. No one has ever been held accountable, despite the fact that we had over 50 Ghanaians dying in the system. And again, so many other reports in Kayunga, Nurwaga, someone who was just shot in Dagire, who was shot on her way moving from voting. In Romiaga, Zimbabwe, we saw 2 people being shot dead. In Bukedi North and so many other areas, we have all those details in the report. And there are quite a number. Now, that was also coupled by several arrests, abductions, and detentions of various people, specifically opposition supporters. We had reports in Mbaro of over 80 people who were arrested in Arua, in Mitiana, Lango sub-region, in Iganga, and so many others. So that is really a concern and a rule of law issue that we need to address as a country. The second part is also we've witnessed abductions and continued enforced disappearances during this reporting period. It's as if we've normalized this process. We've normalized abductions, we've normalized enforced disappearances, and it is a human rights concern. It's a rule of law concern. This period has been marked by a disturbing increase in enforced disappearances and arbitrary arrests of political actors, lawyers, government critics. In several cases, individuals were seized by armed military personnel, even those that are not armed, rather that are not in military uniform, but considered to be security operatives by appearance and by their actions. People being held in undisclosed locations without access to their lawyers, their families, their doctors, only to be produced in court days later. Now, these incidents undermine the constitutional guarantees of personal liberty, due process, and protection from arbitrary detention. Now, in some of these cases, we've seen people have applied for habeas corpus. We see government come out and deny, saying, no, we do not have this person. And days later, the same person who government denied having, is produced in a court of law. Is taken through the police, through, the courts of law, charged with offenses, and then subsequently remanded to prison, which has increased on what we've been talking about, the police to prison pipeline. Every other day we've been coming here talking about the problem of prison congestion, the numbers, and what are the causes. But now the situation in this reporting period has moved from police to prison pipeline to abduction to prison pipeline. Because ultimately, that's why these people end. The unfortunate bit is that these institutions that should question some of these actions do not do that. When someone is presented in court, we expect the judicial officer to question, especially once it is raised, to be concerned about how this person reached here. We had reports of abductions. Yet, like I said before, I have all these legislations talking about due process. When someone is alleged to have committed an offense, what should be the process, regardless of what the offense could be, even if it's murder. But the fact that we're gradually allowing to use wrong means and abuse rights, it's really concerning. Several examples, about Lena Zedriga Waru, Jolly Tumshabe, and John Mary Sebufu, these being NUP people. I believe all of you followed the stories. These are deputy presidents, Zedriga being from the north, deputy presidents of NUP, Jolly being from Barara, who were abducted by a group of masked men, disappeared for some days, and later produced and put in the system. We've increasingly seen the scenario of Sam Mugumya, who was equally abducted last year, but even this year, the colleagues that continued searching for his whereabouts, it's nowhere to be seen. Again, recently we saw Honorable Miriam Matembe, a former minister, a member of parliament and human rights activist, who was also forcibly abducted from her relative's home by armed men. Her whereabouts were unknown for about 2 weeks. The husband attempted to go and report at police, 2 police stations. The aspect of his wife missing was ignored, and then later she's produced in court and charged with an offense. These are blatant abuses of human rights that should concern us as a country. We've seen also, again, disturbing trends. Honorable Elias Rukwago on the 15th of June, 2026, who is a senior advocate and also legal representative for retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye, who was also taken from his home in Wakaliga by armed security personnel. And for approximately 2 days, his whereabouts remained unknown. His family and lawyers were denied access. And during this period, we observed photographs purported to be of him in the basement, being tortured, being mistreated. And then later, he was handed over to the police. Recently, I received a call from one of my uncles in the village who asked me that, but you people, you Law Society, why don't you now go and you get these police officers who receive people who have been abducted? Why don't you get them? They're the ones who should hold accountable. Why do they allow to receive these people and open files against them? And for me, I felt even an ordinary person understands what accountability means. But we seem to be closing our eyes to all this. We've all seen the situation of Mwanga Chivumbi, also a member of parliament for Butambala County, who had been in custody since 22nd January on terrorism charges, was granted bail by the court, and shortly, less than 24 hours later, he's abducted and again also detained in an undisclosed location. This was done in broad daylight. He remained in incommunicado detention for over 19 days before being produced in a Butambala court. Same process, same system, and we are still normalizing it. We say seemingly we are normalizing impunity and lawlessness. Now we have several, of course these cases reflect a broader pattern in which security forces and agencies have increasingly resorted to unofficial detention, prolonged incommunicado confinement, and delayed production of suspects before court. And these actions do not only violate the Constitution, the constitutional provisions, but also erode public confidence in the rule of law by undermining due process, judicial oversight, and accountability for abuse of power. It's more or less an overthrow of the Constitution, because you can no longer cite the Constitution anywhere and you're taken serious. People need to have confidence in these processes. There needs to be certainty. But all these incidents that we see happening are leading to that challenge. No wonder we are beginning to see increased cases of lawlessness on the streets, where people are dying to mob justice because people believe probably they can take the law into their hands, and it is normal. It is a dangerous situation. Now, the recommendations we laid down there, I'll mention that the security agencies should immediately cease the practice of abducting, I'm not using the word arresting, and detaining persons in undisclosed locations. All arrests should be conducted in accordance with the law. They know the laws. Again, also to the DPP should decline to sanction charges where the prosecution is founded on unlawful arrest or detention, and strengthen scrutiny of files involving persons brought after abductions. Again, also the police should stop receiving and legitimizing persons brought into police custody after abduction. Police should establish a document who arrested the person, where, when, and under what authority, so that there's accountability. We also recommend that government must comply with ratified international law prohibiting disappearances, detention, in ungazetted areas, and torture, because we are seeing this increasingly happening, and it's the duty of government to have a social contract between the people and the government. And again, lastly, the judiciary must comply. The judiciary should exercise robust scrutiny over cases involving persons who are presented before court after periods of incommunicado detention, including investigating all these allegations. Some of them could be allegations, but it's the role of the judiciary to investigate allegations of torture and lawful arrests and violations of rights of these people. Then number 2, under that, after abductions and continued disappearances, freedom of expression, freedom of press, and the right to information. Now, freedom of expression, earlier we reported on the positive, but you also have the negative part of it. This is the right to receive and impart information, and digital rights remained under significant pressure during the reporting period, despite the fact that we have these constitutional provisions. We've seen journalists, civil society organizations, political activists, digital content creators, and ordinary citizens continue to report intimidation, censorship, surveillance, arrests, and restrictions on online and offline expression. Public assemblies and civic activities also remain subject to extensive regulation and disruption on ground of public order and national security. If you remember, in the wake of the elections, we saw the internet shut down across the country, despite the fact that promises had been made that it would not happen. And what is always cited is national security. That's, I think, the same time we also saw the suspension of civil society organizations. Now, the first aspect, like I said, being the electoral period where we had internet shutdown and assault of journalists, we saw restrictions on access to information through the use of internet shutdown, which was on the 13th, by the Uganda Communications Commission, which directed all telecommunication operators to shut down the service. So citizens were not able to access information during that time. Press freedom also experienced significant setbacks. We saw during elections and the campaign period, deliberate assault of journalists, which was a critical issue for journalists being beaten, assaulted, and attacked. some of them cameras, mobile phones, memory cards, and other reporting equipments were confiscated or destroyed. And we also know that several journalists were arbitrarily arrested and detained, despite clearly identifying themselves as members of the press. Clearly. So this was a concern to us. On the aspect of abductions and detention of journalists, during this period, we saw several of them. For instance, journalists that were covering the proceedings at the General Court Martial who were detained by UPDF personnel. These included Judith Kukunda, Christina Batanzi, Margaret Zarwango, their phones, cameras, and other equipment taken away. We've seen similar incidents. Recently, journalist Timothy Karegira was arraigned in court and remanded to Ruzira on charges of broadcasting without a license under the Uganda Communications Act. This is a similar challenge we are facing with Malema Abirizi. Though he's not a journalist, but we are seeing these laws, we call it lawfare, increasingly being used. And several other journalists on 29th March, we saw the Digitalk journalist Arnold Anthony Mukose, who was reportedly abducted shortly after appearing on a radio talk show in Kampala. And this was done by men in plain clothes. So this is concerning because the fourth estate should be protected. Journalism is not a crime. They are simply doing their work and providing information. And the third part under that is suspension of operations of media group. And we believe that the violation of media freedom further escalated by the shutdown of operations in June 2026 of the NMG Group, one of the country's largest independent media organization, NTV, Daily Monitor, Spark TV, and the rest, where they woke up in the morning and soldiers were deployed at the company's premises in Namgongo, preventing them from entering. Of course, it is an issue that has been around. It is not until recently that they resumed operations. But the Minister of ICT and National Guidance indicated that the closure was connected to an ongoing security investigation ordered by the head of state. Now, we know the discussions went on, the operations were opened, but then our concern is that this censorship is a major attack on media independence, which we should all respect. The absence of any publicly communicated legal basis for the closure, together the reports that negotiations involving political actors to determine whether the media houses will be allowed to resume or not, is something that we should consider unacceptable because we have regulations and there are processes and due process. This does not recognize due process. Again, there's continued targeting of online expression, specifically speaking to the case of Malema Abirizi, who is currently detained and is still ongoing trial, is incarcerated at Ruzira. It points to the continued use of criminal and regulatory laws to restrict online expression. He had been facing 4 charges under the Computer Misuse Act arising from social media posts. Following the decision, these cases are withdrawn. But immediately, and by that day, yours truly was in court, and I was shocked by the happenings. Immediately, new charges are placed, similar, using the same information, same details, and instead of bringing that matter to an end, we believe the prosecution decided to introduce these free charges to simply persecute Malema Abirizi, alleging that he broadcasted without a license. Now, this immediate substitution of new charges shows that laws are being selectively deployed against the individuals because of social media posts, and this is a gross abuse of freedom of expression. Our recommendations are that they are highlighted there, but we believe security agencies should respect and protect journalists in the course of their professional duties, including during elections or any other thing they are doing. And again, the DPP and law enforcement agencies should ensure that criminal and regulatory laws are not selectively or disproportionately applied to restrict freedom of expression. We also call upon government to review laws governing journalism, broadcasting, and online expression to ensure their compliance with Article 29 of the Constitution and the other recommendations that you come across. Now, the other serious concern is the violation of the right to life. You all know that the right to life remains the most fundamental human right and a cornerstone of the rule of law as provided for in the Constitution and other treaties. We saw the Gaba murder incident where a 38-year-old Okelo Nyum stabbed and killed 4 children, which was the concern. The trial was conducted in a mobile court at Gaba, which we criticize, of course, because of failure to follow due process. Again, we've witnessed several others. The Lungu Jadabo murder incident at a hotel where we saw 2 people who were murdered. We know the Chanja murder incident of a popular TikToker and entrepreneur, Diana Namulinde. There's the Mukono murder incident of Pamela Ruth Mwebaze, University Director of Studies. And these murders are concerning. We believe there should be something, attention needs to be given. And even as we speak, we've seen continuous ones that are happening. And much as we've seen efforts to have these people prosecuted and some of them, taken to courts of law, we still believe a lot of attention has to be given to this issue because it's becoming, increasingly too much. Under the leg of transparency and accountability, which is another leg, we believe the principle of transparency and accountability is among the basic principles of the work in public administration that really should focus on building systems that are democratic and based on the rule of law. But we have concerns with, one, the NGO suspension and shrinking civic space. Now, during this reporting period, concerns arose regarding the exercise of regulatory power over civil society organizations and the impact of such actions on transparency, accountability, and civic participation. I earlier talked about the NGO Bureau suspending operations of several civil society organizations that are majorly, usually monitoring, reporting, and pushing for accountability. Now, we know that these affected organizations challenged the basis of the suspension, raised concerns regarding the process through which it was done, but up to now, it has not been addressed. So these are organizations that are majorly engaged in human rights protection, governance, election observation, civic education, and accountability work. So the important questions being raised are those of transparency and accountability, of regulatory decision-making, and these actions, administrative actions that are causing challenges. Now, of course, this suspension also had severe implications for fundamental rights, including freedom of association, and the right to participate in public affairs under Article 38 of the Constitution. So these rights are very essential for a functional democratic state or government. Now, also the shrinking of civic space was further illustrated by several arrests and detention of outspoken human rights defenders. We saw Dr. Sarah Virete, the Executive Director of Center for Constitutional Governance, on 30th December, being arrested, detained, and up to, I think at the beginning of the year, 2nd January, produced in court, denied bail. These days, getting bail in court is celebrated. Or Uganda. This is a constitutional right, but we celebrate bail. But we saw this as a direct attack and a deliberate, intention to silence these freedoms, especially the human rights defenders. Now, a transparent and accountable governance system requires that regulatory institutions exercise their mandate independently and provide clear justifications for the decisions that have been made. Now, on the aspect of due process and climate legality, we also had serious concerns under that. Due process, I'll talk about the right to legal representation and the right to bail. This has been seen, I've already probably mentioned it, the fact that our Constitution, Article 28, provides for a right to a fair hearing where the person is entitled to legal representation. We've witnessed an interesting trial of Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye, who has had challenges with legal representation. The lead counsel, Martha Karua, was denied entry and declared persona non grata. We saw another lead counsel, Elias Lukwago, also, arrested or abducted and arraigned in court, charged with various offenses. And Dr. Kizza Besigye and Raj Lutare continued challenging this in their, proceedings, in their trial, saying we're entitled to legal representation of our choice. That notwithstanding, we are seeing serious issues with that. On the aspect of a right to bail, right now it is even very hard for any person to say it is settled law, because you no longer have settled law in the area of bail. There's a lot of uncertainty. It's almost, bail has become a privilege, because it looks like it does not matter what someone has to do, what someone does, what a lawyer prepares for a person to be granted bail. Even when someone satisfies all the requirements as underlined in the law, the decision comes from somewhere else. Now, people are using this, as a punishment, and we feel it's really a challenge where the courts are either not acting independently or they are, not doing what they're supposed to do. Even when someone, we know it is the discretion of court, but even where the person, the applicant, is deserving, it is almost impossible to have that person get bail. So we believe this continued detention of accused persons pending trial, it should be an exceptional matter for someone to be kept inside prison, especially where someone has proved all the required, has given all the requirements, and is deserving. Why not grant them bail? So these are concerns, and we have recommendations there also to the judiciary specifically, which are in our report. And again, we have pending pertinent legislation. We've been thinking about this. It's also another issue under this leg. The legal aid bill, which has been pending. I will not say much about this. We know the implication and how important it's equally important. How many Ugandans can afford services of a lawyer, and if you're preaching access to justice. But then we increasingly see some legislations that are brought to Parliament are being fast-tracked and passed very fast. But some of these important ones are not even considered. So that shows where we are. Incidentally, these are laws, these are bills that touch, human rights aspects. We have the Human Rights Defenders Protection Bill of 2020, which has also been lying there, ignored. I think it has gathered dust. The Sexual Offences Bill of 2019, the Witness Protection Bill of 2015, as well as the Marriage Bill of 2024. Now, during this period, what has ULS done? And this will be the brief, almost the last part. In response to the rule of law and human rights in Uganda, ULS, under the leadership of the Radical Nuba, undertook a range of interventions aimed at promoting constitutionalism, protecting human rights, strengthening access to justice, and holding duty bearers accountable. Now, these interventions have included, a lot of advocacy. We do strategic advocacy, public interest litigation, legal awareness and community engagements, media advocacy, legal aid and pro bono, and engaging with key stakeholders through various platforms. We believe that while doing this, we continue to exercise our mandate under the ULS Act to ensure that we reinforce the rule of law and promote equality. Now, at the beginning of the year, we did launch what we call the ULS Election Watch and Rapid Response right here. And it was at a time where there was a lot of challenges, internet shutdown, suspension of other civil society organizations. And we did share our report because we saw all these people being arrested, at least had lawyers to represent them on pro bono across the country. And also were able to document, to observe and document the happenings during the electoral period. You saw us launch that, and we do have a summary of the rapid response intervention by the districts, where our lawyers, the members of the bar, came out to represent some of those victims in the report. Again, we also offered legal representation and support for victims of human rights violations, several of them. You might also recall that on the 26th of June, on the 2nd of June first, we announced a lawyers' strike in solidarity with victims of torture. And this was after we had just received a decision from the Constitutional Court of Farouk Muhammad, which nullified provisions of the Human Rights Enforcement Act dealing with torture, which we felt was a slap in the face, and also like moving 2 steps forward and 10 back. So on the 26th of June, in solidarity, we had a lawyers' strike, which you saw across the country. We've continued to undertake public interest litigation. There are several cases we filed, both domestically and regionally, rising out of these aspects we saw. You will see them in the report. And then we've also contributed to legislation and gave our opinion. You remember when we had the protection of sovereignty bill presented in Parliament, we did do some advocacy, try to advise in accordance with our mandate. Unfortunately, the law was still passed nonetheless, but we are still doing advocacy around that. Earlier I mentioned our R&B live weekly press and public engagement for purposes of accountability. We've always had these engagements weekly, and we've seen different people from different institutions and areas come and join us to speak to the happenings. So at least we've been able to keep the civil space open. And so many topics we've discussed are there. We've done other interventions like petitioning the office of the DPP to withdraw charges against Arias Lukwago. Just last week, we also petitioned the same office to withdraw charges against a young lawyer who was charged. Then we also continue to offer legal aid and pro bono services under our legal aid and pro bono department, which during this quarter has served a total of 2,115 new cases that were registered. And out of those, 467 were concluded. These are offices across the country. We have here in Kampala, Masindi, Gulu, Kitgum, Amdat, Nakapiripiri, Moroto. They are really cut across the country. And LAP continues to do this to give back society by offering free legal services to the indigent, the poor, and the marginalized, especially those who are subject or victims of these human rights abuses, and also in ensuring that we increase on promotion of access to justice. We've had several engagements, the Eastern Bar prison engagement in Soroti, where we joined the members there. Over 50 advocates participated in visiting prisons and offering free advisory, and also taking on clients who could represent on pro bono. Of course, also doing some form of capacity building and sensitization of these inmates, because ultimately majority of them have no knowledge of their rights, and probably that's why they are in there. We also did other social activities at the Eastern Bar. We had the Eastern Bar Run promoting maternal and infant health, where we participated in the social activities and also, gave out some items like an incubator to Fumbo Health Center for. This was an aspect of social responsibility, because we saw other rights where infants are being born and their lives are lost simply because they cannot manage. We've also done several community engagements, as you will see, and media engagements. The Fourth Estate is always here with us. We are always appearing and making several press statements in as far as response to the rule of law and human rights concern, and also advocating for accountability and calling calling out the various stakeholders to pay attention to these violations of constitutional and legal rights. So we believe that through these interventions so far, we've managed to close the gap, the little we can, and to provide instant solutions to, have informed legal perspective on national issues, and also call upon the duty bearers and stakeholders to uphold the law and contribute
Recording
to
in
public
progress.
dialogue on justice. Now, we believe that what we've done might not be enough. We still need to do more. We have short-term, intermediate, and long-term solutions we need. So, colleagues, all that information and the detail with the figures and everything is in our report, which we will share. But as I conclude, we believe that the rule of law report, this very report, which we intend to share, strives to contribute to well-informed and engaged discourse on the rule of law in Uganda. It also aims at promoting and inspiring collaborative efforts towards a more just, equitable, and accountable society where the rule of law prevails for the benefit of all citizens. We do not just come here or document to point fingers, to pick faults in people, but the main purpose is to ensure that it informs our intervention. Where can we work together to solve? Because if there's a problem, we must say there's a problem, and we must agree, especially the fact that we have documentation, we have proof, we have evidence. It helps us and guides us on what we need to address or we need to put emphasis. We do believe that, and as the Uganda Law Society, we do applaud the efforts of the government of Uganda and several stakeholders in ensuring that the rule of law is upheld. So, like I said, the report highlights the various achievements, the positives of government and other institutions and stakeholders to fight for justice. But then also, we believe that a lot is desired in regard to the observance of the human rights and freedoms by the various organs, especially the security forces that have performed poorly in that area. We also need to push for respect for transparency, accountability, due process, and the climate of legality. We need to ensure that human rights are respected. Now, you will notice that this year, the Uganda Law Society celebrates 70 years of existence. And as we struggled to discuss at the level of council, to have deliberations on how do we celebrate this 70th anniversary, where ULS has come from 1956 to date, the happenings kept clouding our, decision. They kept showing us a direction on where to go. And we did ask our questions, is this where we need to go? There's a lot of lawlessness. Hence our theme, resist it, lawlessness. That is how we chose. That is how we want to celebrate. That is how I want to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the Law Society. To resist it, lawlessness. I do thank you for listening to me, for being patient with me. It's a huge report. We've tried to consolidate because it covers 2 quarters. And the most important thing is that what we saw in quarter 2 is really a continuation of what happened in quarter 1. And I do believe that probably if we put the recommendations into place, then we're able to resolve some of these challenges and to have a better Uganda and a better community. Because again, for you to have social, economic, and political development, you need to have an environment where people feel safe, where the rule of law is respected. I thank you for listening to me.
A thunderous round of applause for the Vice President. With those very, very few words, we'd like to thank the Vice President for doing himself a service and giving us a debrief. Of course, he has spoken about so much, and everybody is wondering how long is the report. Kindly be notified that the report is long enough to be serious, but also short enough not to be human rights violation to the reader. Let us try as much as possible to expect so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank the Vice President and the council member in here and the CEO for that very elaborate information that has been shared, of course, capturing 6 months of information and data. As I was beginning, I read in the program there is going to be a break tea, and would like to remind us that there will be no further adjournment, just like all other court proceedings. We're going to have that break tea. We don't want to bore you. We know we've spoken a few things that are going to trigger your minds, but because you came for a breakfast dialogue, it is going to be so. Maybe let's clap for that a little. As we introduce the next item on the agenda, which is the welfare of the members that have made time, we would want to continue to receive you, welcome you, and thank you for making time. The government officials that are here would like to thank you so much. We're very, very pleased that you're here, and we know that we are not just going to be asking questions like we have always done. This time round, we invited government officials who can respond to the questions, and would like to use this opportunity to thank you for making time. We have, as the Vice President introduced, we have Afande Gideon Makonzo Jet. Thank you so much for making it. You are trending on social media for your presence in very smart uniform, sir, and for respecting the anthem in the way you did, which doesn't happen so much for those that are not in uniform. We've gotten comments from those that are online, and they're asking us to kindly send you their regards. Thank you so much. We have Miss Natkunda Alio from the Uganda Prison Services. Thank you so much. May the Lord be with you. Thank you for making time. We really, really appreciate that. We also have Miss Amuchu Danielle Edrin from the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. Thank you so much for making it. We also have, of course, Miss Namala Amia from the same Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. We are expecting that the answers that are going to come will be, of course, in representation, and those that are going to require consultation, we shall allow you to consult for a very short time, and we hope it doesn't turn into a commission of inquiry. Ladies and gentlemen, it's break time. We're going to request you very, very kindly, as the distribution of the report is ongoing through the support staff around, we're going to ask that we tune our minds to break tea. In the course of the partaking of the break tea, we're going to have reactions from the report that has been read out unto us in summary by the Vice President, but also we're going to request that we break it down. Let us unpack it. Don't be shy. This is a very safe space. Of course, I'm not going to give the quotations and the articles in the Constitution, but this is a safe space. Please feel free. Yes, you're going to be receiving those booklets. Kindly use this time to go through them, but also the support staff is going to be ushering the members in this room for breakfast. Our breakfast was already blessed by the prayer that was said, so feel free to be picked out. Let's serve break tea. Let's discuss what has been presented, as we also recognize the presence of Mr. Marvin Blessed from the Office of the IG, together with Hilda T, together with Miss Angela Tusime. We thank you so much for making it. We are very, very honored to have you present. We also have the presence of Mr. Stephen Tashovia from the Electoral Commission. Thank you so much once again. And this is the very moment that we're going to take to distribute the books, but also to receive comments, reactions from what has just been shared. Clearly, this report is not going to go away without being reacted upon. So many different departments, government departments have been highlighted. There's been flowers that have been issued and given to the good things, the positive developments for purposes of fairness. We are about fairness. Flowers have been given, but to some extent, you remember the vice president made a pause and said, now that was the end of the positive developments. We are very concerned about the negative developments, because the negative developments are exactly the reason we're here, to ask the questions, the very hard questions, and also to get the answers from the departments of the government that are here. We also want to excuse me, those in the back, excuse me. Let's kindly have some order, please. Let's kindly have some order. Let's mean business. Yes, like I was saying, this is the time for the questions to be asked. The microphone is going to be moving around. We are going to ask the questions. We're going to get reactions. We're going to get comments. And we're going to try to have a breakfast dialogue. Thank you. Okay. Please feel free to approach the table behind over there for breakfast in an orderly manner, obviously. Okay. Some house cleaning. My apologies. I have been requested to change the order of proceedings. We are going to launch the rule of law report as has been presented before we can tune our minds to break tea, because there might be a little bit of lapse in mind. Let's do the business that brought us here. Not that breakfast isn't important. You made time to come very early, so we don't take it for granted. I would like to, in a special way, invite the members of council before, and the government officials, and representation from the different civil society organizations to come to the front, especially because you have been handed a copy of the report. We're going to request that we approach the stage and have a group photo with the vice president and the members of the council, so as to launch the report, and then we can proceed to have our breakfast. The government officials represented here, rather the government departments represented here by the officials, kindly make it to the front so we can have that picture taken. Would like to suspend for another minute the breakfast, please. Yes, the government departments represented. Yes, let's come out, let's feel free, let's all come. Whoever has that a copy, whoever has the copy, let's come up and launch this, and then go into the breakfast. Let's come up, please. Let's come up. Thank you. Should we stand up? Adam, please come and guide. Come with a copy of the report so that it is ably visible. A copy of the report, it's ably visible as the cameramen organize us. Yes. The banner as well. They want to capture the banner. Okay, let them advise us. Okay, breakfast is served, ladies and gentlemen. Kindly feel free to visit the service table. While we are at that, let's prepare to make reactions and comments about the report. It is very cardinal. It forms part of this function, and clearly we have also seen and witnessed the presence of the IGG, like has been said, represented by the Director of Legal, that is Miss Hilda Taliva. Thank you so much for making time. We are very, very happy the Directorate of Legal Affairs is fully representing the IG. Let us feel free to make it to the other side. We shall also accept the media, the Fourth Estate, to take some interviews from some of the dignitaries that are here. Please feel free when approached. This is a safe space, a freedom of expression, like we all know. No interviews. I'm sorry. Okay. There are interviews going on. So let's concentrate on breakfast for a few minutes as we prepare to react and make comments. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Welcome back from that break. We want to thank you so much for continuing to partake of that sumptuous meal. Like we said, ladies and gentlemen, this is a dialogue. It's a breakfast dialogue. So we're going to have a working tea. We're going to engage. We're going to make use of the day, as we had earlier on said and as was stated. We have taken a time off for those that were joining us online. We know you are, of course, enjoying that moment, but when physical, of course, the difference is in the break tea. We know you took a soft break, whereas ours was quite hard. The Vice President has ably, with his team, launched the Rule of Law Quarter 1 and 2 report for the Uganda Law Society, capturing the period between January and June. What a time to be alive, to witness the things that have occurred in our country, but also very importantly, the interventions that have been made by especially the Uganda Law Society, but also by all the other justice, law and order sector players. And that also is in execution of our mandate, as we earlier on said, Section 3C and D of the Uganda Law Society Act Cap 305. Ladies and gentlemen, we're welcoming you back from that break, and in a very, very short moment, we're going to welcome plenary discussion. We're going to welcome reactions. We're going to request that you don't feel shy, because we are in a very safe space. Kindly ask for the microphone and make a comment. Is it about your government department? Is it about any other government institution that you have experienced? Is it about any other civil society organization? There's been so many comments made. There are very many affected individuals, there are very many affected families, there are very many affected professions, there are very many affected Ugandans who deserve to hear what we have to say. Those that are joining us online, you're also free to comment. Kindly feel free to drop in a text or a comment online. We shall be very fast to receive it, but also very importantly, those that are physically present. The microphone is going to be moving up and about. Let's kindly feel free, raise your hand up, and you'll be given the opportunity to use the microphone, which is going to be given to you very, very graciously. Do not forget to return it when it has been given to you. Let's kindly go through the report that has been launched as of now and make comments to it. Yes. Yes, any hands up? We're going to expect, of course, comments from the different government institutions, government departments. We have representation also in a very special way. We would like to take cognizance of Mr. Kateriga Stephen, who is in representation of the Human Rights Center. Thank you so much for making it. We are very honored to have you present. Thank you so much. Yes, like I said, we have representation from the Uganda Police Force. That is Miss Cho Butunji Dorothy. Thank you so much for making time. We appreciate. We also have representation from UN Women, one of the development partners that also plays a very cardinal role in ensuring the rule of law is experienced. We have Miss Martha Agaba. Thank you very, very much for making it. Really, really appreciate. We also have Mr. Mukisa Eli, who is in representation of Tomorrow People Africa. Thank you so much for making it. We really appreciate that. We also came along with one Ronald S. Thank you so much for making it. We are very honored. And ladies and gentlemen, kindly feel free to ask for the microphone and make a comment, make a reaction to what you have in your hands, but also the general feel. What is the feel? What is the health of constitutionalism according to you, or the department that you're representing? Have you had a scenario that has challenged the rule of law practice in the country, in your workspace, at your home, in your experience during the elections, during the most recent LC1 elections? Of course, social media was awash. Some people did not actually imagine that LC1 elections were possible, because we all know that it has been adjourned and postponed, just like these other court cases, for so many years. So many people did not expect that indeed the LC1 elections were going to be undertaken. But maybe, yeah, we should give flowers where it's due. the LC1 elections were fully conducted, we had the vice president on one radio talk show, that's the Capital Gang, make his comments about that. And it was very ably evident that they went on smoothly. There was no such kind of hardships. Of course, they will never miss across the board. But yes, imagine, what's your comment about that? What is your comment about what has been said in the report? The arbitrary arrests, the illegal detentions, the disappearances. What do you have to say about them? What do you want to see work? It is a work in progress. What do you want to see better? We are receiving comments. We are receiving comments. We want to hear from the Uganda Prison Services. What difference has there been between the launch of our last quarter 3 and 4 report and today, the one of quarter 1 and 2? Some comments were made. Some reports were made. What difference has transpired? We want to hear from the Uganda People's Defense Forces, the people that are charged with managing our borders and securing our peace in many different ways. What do you have to say about the state, the health of constitutionalism? Yes, we want to also appreciate the presence of LASPNet, Legal Aid Service Providers Network, represented by Advocate Kayanja Dennis. Thank you so much for making it. Appreciate your presence. And we have Miss Sylvia Akol, who is from Pearl Marina, escorted as well, and here in the presence of Mr. Scott Mukunde. Thank you so much for making it. We are listening into comments. Please, let's hear what you have to say. Thank you. Gwenny? Yes, I want to hear from the table that is next to you. Kindly make one comment at least about what we have presented. The Uganda Law Society is very open also to feedback. We want to know how we are doing. We want to know what we are doing right, and of course what is not meeting your expectation, and of course how we can work to do better. Please, Afande, if it is within your ability, may you please speak to us. Yes? It's different. Stand down. Okay, we shall wait for the comments. In the meantime, we want to continue appreciating the members of the Fourth Estate. The Bouquet Day has been in this place. We have Edward L. We have Mr. Josh Kukinza also present. Yes, let's kindly feel free. We know there's a lot that has to be said, and this is the space. Don't feel any intimidated. You are in a safe space. The Uganda Law Society is the home of freedom of expression. The reason we're here, and we'd like to hear from you to know how better we can structure this report, or how we can work together. We're in the habit of forging partnerships. We've had so many partnerships, as the Vice President has made comments with the different government departments. And it's important that these discussions, these dialogues are held every once in a while. As you have noticed, the weekly press and public engagements have hosted so many different government departments, for which we've had various partnerships. And it's important that we get feedback about what we are doing, about what your particular government department is doing. We'd like to hear from the office of the IG. I mean, they are here with us. They are happy. The smiles are ear to ear. They have enjoyed the sumptuous meal. Some of them, it's also some of their money. You know, we at the ULS, we have in our membership over 7,000 variously placed in different government departments. We're brothers and sisters. So we would like also to hear from the IG. What is your comment about the report? What good thing have you noted? What challenges are there? How can we help each other to address these challenges? Because the Uganda we serve is actually going to be for us and the future generation. It is about time that we set the foundation for the future generation. So I would like to, Marvin, I can see as you're enjoying that tea, I'm sure you have one or two things to tell us. I know it might not be so much, but the way you're organized, I have a feeling you have something to tell me. Marvin, Gwenny, Marvin wants to say something. His hand has just fallen short of going up because he's enjoying a cup of tea. Gwenny, kindly approach the table of the office of the IG and hear something.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jurua.
You're most welcome.
Oh, yes, you're right. We are really smiling. Our bellies are full. But most importantly, we have been, our efforts have been recognized by the ULS, and we appreciate. As you know, the ULS is one of our very, very important partners in advancing the rule of law in this country. The Inspectorate of Government functions are spelled out in the Constitution, Article 225. If you notice, the very first one is we are mandated to foster the strict adherence. It's very encouraging.
Sorry about that.
Respect for the rule of law. We are grateful that thank you for having us. Thank you for ULS for recognizing our efforts. It gives us courage to push on. It is not an easy fight, but we are grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thank you. While you're still with the microphone, there's a very interesting question that came that is asking about forfeiture of property of suspects or litigants in court whose matters have been adjudicated upon, of course, in regard to misappropriation or corruption. It's been an issue lingering throughout. What is your comment about it, please? Everybody is satisfied. I'm sure she's also, Angela is very, very happy to receive. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, I won't deny that I'm happy to be here. I'm surely happy. And I'm happy to see everyone in the room.
Thank you to God.
You're asking about forfeiture, but they are two different. There's confiscation and forfeiture. So I don't know what you're interested in particular.
For the sake of knowledge acquisition, here you are, free lecture. We didn't pay fees. We are sorry, but please educate the public. Could you have a better microphone here?
I always tell colleagues that lawyers don't hawk the law. We paid.
Sorry about that microphone. Yes.
That's besides the point.
Yes,
now,
please.
the nature of the recoveries that we make in Uganda, they are conviction based. You can only first secure conviction before you can go for someone's property, even if it was illicitly acquired.
Yes.
So one of the good things about it is that you're taking property that you're sure is actually proceeds of crime. Forfeiture, on the other hand, is, now the first thing I talked about is confiscation. It only happens after conviction has been secured. Yes. Forfeiture, on the other hand, is you'll say so and so, you stole 500 million, you invested it in property A along Acacia Avenue. Then he says, yes, there's truth to it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to forfeit this property located on Akiboa Road, but don't take me to court. Okay. Because it is the equivalent of the money that I took, or even a little more sometimes. So we accept the property and we forfeit, rather we take it away, yes. But then you also leave office. That is usually the condition that we give. So I don't know what they were really interested, whoever asked what they were really interested in finding out. I want to think that it is because of the recent story in the newspapers, which we won't talk about a lot, because the matter is ongoing, where I think the parliament officials were saying we want to take their property, they have just been arraigned. We definitely will not take it, but we secure it. So that should the conviction actually come out, then we have something for government to get. If we say you stole our 500 billion, okay, it's I think around 24 billion, all of them. If they say it is true they stole it and you don't have the cash, we shall go for your property located around everywhere in Uganda. So the property is already secured. Usually we do that. But we wait for the conviction because of the presumption of innocence.
Yes.
Until you're convicted, you are still innocent.
Thank
So
you.
that's where we are in the forfeiture and confiscation processes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Miss Angela, very interestingly, a question to whether that is having a framework between the sisters that are in the habit of confiscation. The DPP, there is a training that I attended sometime, and there was a little bit of indifference in how the DPP handles, of course, upon conviction. There is such scenarios at the DPP's office, and yet the same is happening at the IG. Do you have that semblance of operation in such a way?
Like, do we have like a connection between the two?
Yes,
Or
yes.
DPP has an asset recovery unit.
Yes.
The IG always has an asset recovery unit. We have two different units. So you only confiscate properties of the person who you have successfully prosecuted and there's been a conviction. So DPP's role is only limited to the cases they handle, and our role is also limited to the cases that we handle. We don't usually get an overlap because we have an MOU, and okay, with DPP we don't have an MOU, it's just a working understanding that if you're handling a case, then let's not waste government resources handling the same case. So we both agree and one of the institutions takes over the case. But usually when it comes to economic crimes and acquisitive crimes, the IG takes on. If it's these other ones, mandate is borderline, we can agree and either of the institution actually takes it up. So yes, we have an understanding between the two institutions.
Okay, thank you so much. We are in the habit of contributing towards rule of law and justice, so it's our interest to know how it operates, especially up to the end. Thank you so much for those answers. For the answers to the questions. We're receiving questions from those online, but we're also welcoming questions from those within. We have a hand over there. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you so much,
You're most welcome.
the
Please.
moderator. I would like to take this opportunity to thank ULS for the invitation, first of all.
Thank you. Could you
Yes,
identify
I'm Senior Superintendent of Police, Dorothy Choutonje. I serve under the Directorate of Human Rights and Legal Services. First things first, I still say that thank you so much for putting together these two reports. They give us a reflection of how we have executed our mandate,
Yes.
whether it has been effectively done.
Sorry about that.
Yes, what is not going on well, and it also informs our interventions.
Yes.
Yeah, based on the 4 pillars that were well brought out in your report, and having said that I'm under the Directorate of Human Rights and Legal Services, it is one of our functions, of course, to promote the observance of human rights within the force, accountability, and the rest of the issues that have been.
Very, very sorry about that, really. Could we just collect all the microphones and put them in one place? Yes, ma'am. Kindly proceed.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, like I'm saying, it is one of our core functions to ensure that we execute our mandate while we are respecting and observing human rights, being accountable to the public that we serve, and also ensure that we do.
Yeah, sure.
fairness, equity without bias, and the rest, which we are trying to do, though we are not yet there 100%. This is work in progress. We have also positively contributed through crime prevention, where we do deter unlawful acts, secure public spaces, and ensure stability in general. We also have contributed, of course, through protection, rights protection, where we safeguard the lives, properties, and fundamental freedoms of all the citizens. But of course, from the report, we see there are pertinent issues, concerns that are being raised. I would like to say that, of course, recognizing the nature of our work, Uganda Police is always in intervention. You interface with the people, the community, the day-to-day. That's why I said we are one of the frontline agents of the rule of law. We recognize that there are incidents that have come up to taint that we are trying to build, but that does not mean that the police does really, Uganda Police does condone the human rights violations and the rest of the actions that are done contrary to what the law provides or contrary to the authority that we exercise. I'd also like to say that we've also done deliberate efforts in access to justice through ensuring that police services have been decentralized to the lowest unit of police. Why do we do that? To ensure that even the last person in the village also has access to our services. And we believe through that we are enabling people to access justice, because through our investigative functions, we have been able to take the services through the structures. The police structures have been put at regions, have been put at districts, and then we also have the currently ongoing the sub-county policing model, whereby we have the last unit of police down in those parishes. And we believe that will contribute more to the rule of law. Responding to the recurring violations and access to justice, recurring violations regarding excessive use of force. Like I said, we do maintain accountability structures. Yes, our accountability structures may not be so effective, because that's why we have these incidents ongoing. But deliberate efforts are in place to ensure that we serve the citizens of this country while we are respecting and observing their rights, while we are treating them with all the dignity that it deserves. But we also recognize that these incidents are happening, and in one way or another we have failed. So like it was highlighted by the Vice President ULS, that whatever is happening needs a concerted effort. Yes. Because I want to say that the policing role is not a sole responsibility. We have several actors. While we do one part, there's a part on the citizens even, by the way. Sure. They also have obligations to play so that they enable us effect our duties in the most deserving way. Yeah. So with the recommendations, definitely, when you go through the report, there are specific recommendations to Uganda Police. First, regarding arrests, stopping, receiving, and legitimizing abductions. With this, definitely I'm going to bring it to the attention of the management, and I believe that something has to be done. Like I said, this informs our interventions. And when you look at this report, definitely we've just received it. Yeah, all we can do is to go through and you take a quick sneak peek into what is being raised. At times we are not able to bring out those solutions that are tangible, the measurable solutions that need to be done. I would like to recommend that after having such recommendations, you could put the recommendations in writing to the respective MDAs and ask them for responses. I'm seeing cases. One of the cases that was referred to while the report was being presented is the case of Chivumbi.
Yes.
And the death that occurred during the arrest and whatever happened during the elections. I want to clearly state that I don't think it's true that there are no investigations in that matter. They are there, but I cannot ably tell the status right now. But given chance, definitely in writing, you can receive the status of these investigations. So I would like to recommend that maybe some of these issues that are being raised in this report, you need to extract each to the respective institutions, respective and ask them to give you a response specific to those concerns that have been raised by this report. Otherwise, I want to commit that as Uganda Police, we continue to commit to adherence of due process and human rights standards. We continue to train our officers on human rights standards and best practices to curb capacity and the knowledge gaps and those incompetences that lead us into those incidents that are not good on the side of UPF. We also continue to cooperate with the rest of the state actors because the policing role is not solo. Yes. And then the cooperation from the public, which is very important because without the public, we cannot do anything. That's why the adage that goes that the police is the community and the police is the community is very true. We need the cooperation of each and every citizen so that we are able to bring out or to execute our mandate and bring you the services that are deserving and in a human rights compliant manner. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much. A round of applause for Fande. That has been very, very selfless. Thank you for, of course, not necessarily representing UPF. I realize you've spoken in your capacity as the directorate. Thank you so much for that answer or that very long elaboration of what you are trying to bring to us. We appreciate the commitment. It is very important that we continue to forge that way. We cannot operate in silos. It's very important. And of course, the report has a lot to do with UPF. A number of flowers have been given. We applaud you for maintaining the peace in the country. Some of this is only because we have the peace. But of course, I will go back to what how the Vice President broke from the positive to the negative. Like now, that's the end of the positives. The negatives are so much putting the UPF in a rather bad light, in ways that are also awash social media, that even a non-lawyer is able to see and ask questions. There's a question from one Namara Sylvia who is wondering, how effective are internal accountability mechanisms when officers are accused of unlawful arrest or detention? How effective are internal accountability mechanisms when officers are accused of unlawful arrest or detention? I think, of course, that goes back to you straight, and I know it's not so far away from what you've just been talking, but also to add a little to that, we don't see so many of them coming out. I know there is a disciplinary committee, there is some internal mechanisms, but you see the public can only understand when they've been brought forth. If we cannot see that, then it's not known to us until such people like you, who are government officials who have chosen to come and answer the questions without making a commission of inquiry. Thank you. Would you please answer that question, please?
Yeah, thank you so much. That is a good question. Actually, it also allows us to put out what kind of structures do we have
Sure.
in the force that hold officers, the errant officers, accountable. We have so many. Like I said when I was making my remarks, my observations, we have the police standards unit. That one is, I said we have also decentralized our structures. The PSU, which is the police standards unit, is available at all regions, the 32 policing regions. Then we have the legal officers, the human rights legal officers, also at all regions.
Yes.
Their purpose is to monitor the human rights situation up to the last unit. In those regions where they are deployed, they're supposed to monitor what is going on in all these places. Now, coupled with the sub-county policing model, it would also be their role. The PSU and the human rights legal officers
Yes.
are supposed to monitor. We also have the inspectorate unit in the force. It also does monitor compliance and ethics in the force. Those are also for purposes of accountability and checking the checks and balances where PSU maybe has not monitored what is happening on the ground.
Thank you.
The legal officers will monitor. Where the legal officers have not monitored, we have the inspectorate. It also come in. Those are the checks and balances that you're talking about in that report. So how effective are they? I think we have had one problem in the force whereby we do not publicize what we do, especially regarding the discipline. So what avenues do we have for the people of Uganda to ensure that if something wrong is that the police officers have not done to your expectations and you have a complaint on them, report them using PSU and the rest of the structures that I have highlighted. But how effective are they when PSU investigates and finds out that either a criminal offense has been committed? That matter definitely crosses to CID and officers have been prosecuted along those lines.
Sure.
I want to refer to whoever has asked, I didn't get the name.
Namara.
Google
Yes.
on the implementation of the Human Rights Enforcement Act, which actually brings out the individual responsibility upon the officers that have not been able to work within the confines of the law. We have a number of cases where officers have been prosecuted and court has awarded sentences that bite the individual officer. So that aside, we also have the disciplinary courts, which are administrative. We have prosecutors from the Directorate of Human Rights and Legal Services. Once the file crosses from PSU, it goes to the Directorate of Human Rights and Legal Services, working with the human rights, the resource, human rights, human resource. And officers, once prosecuted, still I refer you to the Section 28 of the Police Act. It highlights the number of punishments that are available against these officers. And even right now, as I speak, there must be several courts ongoing. And these, we have unit courts, regional courts, then we have the standby at headquarters.
Wow.
Isn't that effective?
Very much so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Afande. We would like to recommend, because one of the pillars here is transparency and accountability. You are charged with accountability. We don't know anything that you're doing, so for us, all that you have said is only because we are here. How much of the public is not aware of what is happening? So we would like to recommend that you hire the services of the Uganda Society Communications Department that is always online, day in, day out. You can be sure the Communications Department will air whatever you're trying to tell us. We appreciate, really, but just to say, can there be a little more of the transparency for such matters? Let people know that things are going on, and okay, this guy mistreated me, he was taken to PSU, you know, a human rights regional office somewhere for so far away, which might not necessarily be the same as the PSU. Let there be seen to be justice. We thank you nonetheless. Thank you so much. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're still in the question and answer or plenary and discussion. We are going to receive, a hand from within. Yes, Shamil.
Yes, hello everyone. As always, I'm the citizen, and every week, every Thursday, you are accountable to me, and I'll always be here to hold you to account. It's very painful. People don't like being held accountable. Uganda Law Society, thank you. The Legal Aid Project, thank you. You're a dedicated team. I think you work harder than Olivia Benson in SVU. So a round of applause for the Legal Aid Project of Uganda Society. They really work hard. I'd like to thank you for this report. It's a very nice report. They try to make it as kind and as polite as possible because they are trying to play the thin line. But me as a citizen, I don't have that luxury. I tell it to you as it is. Uganda, I told you, the Ugandan judiciary is where justice goes to die. The Uganda Human Rights Commission is where human rights go to die. The Uganda police, and I will say it clear, please catch me when I'm saying this. Uganda police force is where policing goes to die. In Atlanta, they said they couldn't get rid of the police department. They fired all of them, they started all of them, they recruited and started afresh. This narrative that Uganda police is some special important force we can't do without, let me tell you, we can do without you. You're only good for one thing. Uganda police is only good for one thing. Do you know what it is? A letter when I have lost my SIM card, don't want to have been stolen. That is the only thing Uganda police is good for. You will give us, we have disciplined our soldiers, we have done this, but the only good thing I can thank Uganda police for is a letter when I have lost my SIM card. Beyond that, you are a waste of time. The other day I was at the judiciary at Court of Appeal. One of the justices, he has retired, told me, but counsel, we don't see you filing your cases these days in the Constitutional Court. Ugandan judiciary. In case you haven't noticed, I gave up on you. I stopped filing cases in judiciary. It is a waste of time. For those of you who have been following social media, you saw the nurse training in America who was testifying in a mental health case. That is what was supposed to have happened in Okelo's case. Everyone here in this room, you were on TikTok yesterday. She has been training. That is what a professional trial. You think I see her nodding? That is what a professional trial was supposed to look like. Ugandan judiciary, you took us for fish in Gaba Beach. And I think you can see. It was so pathetic to the extent that even the people on the normal street wondered what was going on. Yes, and we feel sorry for the parents who lost, but that was not a trial. So the rule of law in Uganda is dead. There is nothing, there are two bad people in a democracy. It's not the dictatorship. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, though I'm bashing the Uganda police. It's not the Uganda police. It's not the military. They may have their issues, but it's not the military. Do you know who the two worst people are in a judiciary? I mean, in any democracy. A bad lawyer and a bad judge. And the American Bar Association has said it. A bad lawyer, when you're a DPP, you'll sanction charges, because you're supposed to guide these people. And the mistake that lawyers make, that judges make, is to think for lawyers. That is the biggest mistake everyone in this room makes. It's the biggest mistake every citizen there makes. They think laws are the area of a lawyer. Our president, Senior Counsel Semakadi, broke down in tears and told you about the children in Karamoja. And what did he say? 595, how many MPs are there? 523. Okay, remove the 10 UPDF, they don't vote. 513 voted that someone in Karamoja, your land now belongs to the government. We are going to come and take your gold. We are going to take your limestone. And he broke down saying the people in Karamoja have never even heard of something called a rule of law, a constitution, something like that. This report is very good for us who are educated, the people who went to school. To the local wananchi, it has not changed his daily circumstances. So as people, we must do better. Uganda Police, how far with our cold case division? I'm glad finally we have got convictions for Najirina, she got justice. Susan Magara has finally got justice. I don't know the other people, we are getting justice for them. But that's just the few who are, I have a ton of cases on my desk. The other day, Justice Chinobe, I don't even know. Uganda, anyway, as I said, judiciary, Najivako. He says in his ruling, Martha Karua can represent BSJ on video link, online. Mr. Vice President, I don't want people to say these are coming from my words. What have we been fighting for the last 2 months? Isn't it a video link from the judiciary? Rule of law. So the judiciary is now saying, oh, she's entitled a video link to represent. Rule of law does not mean I am right. And this is the mistake government agencies make. When I criticize you, I'm telling you do better. It does not mean the criminal must go free. It means you must respect his or her rights. That's all we are asking for. Is that hard? Ugandan judiciary, is that hard? Prisons, is that hard? Police? Anyway, Uganda Police, as I conclude, we need a cold case division, and please, do better than just giving us letters because our SIM cards have been stolen or our phones have been lost. Create a cold case division, better more class. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The hard questions are asked, the statements that are heard are also mentioned, and people are called up upon, and the government departments here are criticized. We want to only believe that it is for the sake of making it better. It has always been said to be work in progress. Where you've fallen short, we shall want to call you out. Where you have done well, like the cases that have been concluded, we shall applaud you. So let us kindly receive what we are hearing, but also go back, because we are in representation of the different government departments, to make some comments. And of course, Shamil, you know that the report has just been launched and therefore given out to the departments. The representation are actually going to take them back and make comments, and of course answer some of the questions that have been asked both online and physically, but also what is embedded in the report. Thank you so much. We are here still on the same issues. We want to thank you. We know it's time fast spent. It is supposed to be a breakfast meeting, and we won't want to extend it beyond breakfast meeting. It's a dialogue. I am going to welcome 1 or 2 more comments, and then I can easily excuse you. Yes, please. Miss Gwenny, there is a hand over somewhere. Kindly.
Thank you, moderator.
You're most welcome. Please.
My name is Natkunda Alio, Senior Commissioner of Prisons from Uganda Prison Service. And I'd like to appreciate Uganda Law Society for the support to our institution and to our inmates. Specifically in the report, it's about legal aid, service provision, and also providing legal advice to our inmates and going ahead to sensitize them on their rights and available legal remedies. In Uganda Prison Service, we have a Quality Assurance and Inspectorate Department and also Legal and Human Rights Department that are responsible for sensitizing the inmates. We do that regularly, but we may not reach to everybody all the time. So when the Law Society comes in to support us, we are very, very appreciative. As of yesterday, we had 82,544 inmates. 54.3% are convicts, 45.0% are remands, and 0.7% are debtors. And when we talk about overcrowding, we are over 300%. And that is very, very overcrowded, I would say. And when such services come in from institutions that like Law Society and other supporting institutions, a lot is done on reducing the congestion that we have in our facilities. And Uganda Prison Service has also put a number of measures in place to reduce overcrowding. We have been expanding our facilities over time, but realize that is just a temporary relief on the congestion. Because you build more wards, you build more prisons, but in a little while they are filled up. But what we've been doing internally is, you realize when we talk about overcrowding, it's not all the units that are overcrowded. Some have very few people, then maybe the reception centers have very many people because they have to be close to the courts. So what we do internally is transfer within, internally, from one station to another station, at least to bring a little relief on these that are overcrowded. And it has worked, though of course it becomes hard when we have a high number of remands that you can't move from place to place all the time, since they have to have access to courts. Then the establishment of virtual courts together with the judiciary has also helped, because we have about 20 prison units that are able to have these video conferencing facilities, and we can have inmates actually have their trial done when they are in prison. They don't have to move to court. And maybe one thing that we always would want strengthened is alternatives to imprisonment. But I don't know if it's about the society, about the courts, but things like community service and other alternatives are not very embraced when it comes to the court system. And yet, for those who are serving minor offenses, it would do us a lot of good if they were maybe to go for community service. Then currently we are working on parole regulations, and we believe with parole it will at least also help in the reduction of the numbers that we have. The Vice President also talked about the prolonged detention. We try as much as we can to make sure that we give returns every quarter to the different courts, so that they know we have these people, how long they have spent, so that they are handled. But we have a problem when it comes to those who are already committed and they are there, you are stuck with them. All that we can do is report and wait for the sessions when these people will be handled. And we have also had some relief by the prerogative of Mercy Committee when some were pardoned, but it's not something that is very regular. But when it happens, very many numbers are considered, and it also contributes to the reduction of the numbers. Basically, that's what I would like to comment about. I thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Afande. That has been so honest and from the heart. Of course, you've mentioned so many things that, like we keep saying, the public is not aware, but imagine the beautiful things you're saying. It leaves a lot to be appreciated about what you're doing, because that's people's children, people's families, mothers, sisters, brothers. Those are things that affect people's minds and mental health. So when you say you have some interventions that are coming in, and as well, attending this function also prepares us for a partnership. We are in the habit of partnerships. If you can't do so much of that work, we are a civil society organization. We are the National Bar Association. and we've had very able leaders like the vice president who has spent a lot of time actually going to prisons. We have the legal aid project that is always at the prisons. We have a predetermined list of advocates from here that whose list has been shared across the board in the country, that anytime you need that service, the Uganda Law Society under the legal aid project in the 22 clinics is available. I think it's only right that this symbiosis continues, because it helps us to get the answers to the questions. And the interventions of parole regulation is very important, because I mean that is where you can clearly get a solution. And I know the 300% overcrowding is despicable. And like we said, we cannot always point a finger at you. It is systemic. It goes beyond the authorities. It also comes down to the mindset of the victims, the mindset of the accused, the mindset of the communities. So when you're able to move with us and we're able to move with you in the reverse, we're able to talk to the population and have them address their issues. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. May God bless you as you return. Send our regards to the UPS. We are honored to have you here, and we know that we're going to have reports from you. I know you're going to have comments that might just be off cuff. I'm sure we shall be hearing from you again, because we're going to continue to do this again and again. The report is going to be launched again at the end of this year. That, of course, is for quarter 3 and 4, and that, of course, also means that we shall be very, very glad to hear some of the comments of what we have observed in our report. Yes, we are still moving. It's a breakfast meeting. Our time is fast spent. I want to take one more comment. We have a hand from our service provider. He has wanted to say something. Please come closer. You can introduce yourself. You're the reason we're happy. Yes.
To have this chance once again.
Thank you.
And to talk about the launch of law, or the review of Uganda Law Society, state of law in Uganda.
Yes, please. Please identify yourself.
I'm of the opinion.
Identify yourself.
I thank everybody and the Uganda Law Society that it has clocked 70 years. During this period of time, I'm of the opinion Uganda Law Society moves forward to sensitize the masses, because most of the people are unaware of our laws. 2, even the police themselves have not done so in order to stop lawlessness.
Okay.
And that one, most of the people who are within either Kampala or urban areas in Uganda don't know what to do. And that is why you see a lot of unlawlessness in the country. I'm of the opinion, you move forward, educate the masses, and I believe that will stop or reduce the number of criminals. 2, formerly, we had policemen or police staff going to schools and educating the children of what is to take place or what take place in the country. They train them or they teach them laws governing the state, and that were stopping the unlawlessness.
Yes, lawlessness.
Today it is not there.
Yes.
Going to the judiciary side,
yes,
I'm of the opinion,
yes, please,
they reduce or they stop imprisoning the petty criminals by giving them social service work instead of taking them to prisons. You take someone who has beaten the other or who have fought. He goes for 3-4 months. By the time he comes back, he has learned something else.
Yes.
He's trained how to steal, how to kill, things of the nature. At one, this is something which has ever happened. I was once taken or imprisoned for one day in a police cell.
Yes.
Where I found one of the deadly criminals. He was teaching us how to kill using a tie.
A tie?
The one you are tying. That it is very, very easy to use it.
Wow.
So whenever you see someone coming along with it in his hand, run away.
Oh, come on.
Because, yeah, he was training us how to do it.
Wow.
Supposing I was a bad man.
Yes, yes.
What would happen?
Yes.
So, you see, I, for one, I was called for, they said I was redundant somewhere, which was not. That means they took me in for nothing.
Yes.
And I learned something bad.
Dangerous.
That one will reduce the number of criminals in the country.
Yes.
So I'm of the opinion, if everybody is trained or taught some bit of law, then nothing. We shall reduce the number of criminals in the country, and I believe the human rights will also be respected.
Wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please help me identify yourself. Please identify yourself. Please tell the public your name and what you do, so that we are. Yes.
I'm called Disan Senyonjo Mosisi. I'm a service provider.
Thank you so much. For you to know, Mr. Disan Senyonjo is the one that is serving us the breakfast. He also offers catering services, both from within the ULS, but also elsewhere. As a Rotarian, as the president of the Rotary Club of Chadondo Rugby, he has served us sumptuous meals, beautiful whenever we have functions. So you can be sure that the service provider is not just a joking subject. He has identified with rule of law, and he has always done that whenever we had this opportunity. But you can imagine what he has said about going to jail for almost nothing, and you learn something more dangerous. The tie I'm wearing can be a deadly weapon. The tie I'm wearing can be a deadly weapon. But yes, that is exactly what the questions are about, and we don't know if we can do anything without working together. He has identified the judiciary. He has put to task the Uganda Law Society. He has put to task the Uganda Prisons Services. He has put to task the Uganda Police Force. He has put to task all of us, all mankind, without isolating the IG, of course, because, I mean, it cuts across. So, yeah, here we are. And thank you so much, Disan. We shall take cognizance of your comments. Your opinions are not very, very simple. We shall take them into play and make sure we interrogate them further and help you to ensure that your dream is recognized of rule of law, and where there is a lot of rule of law established. I thank you so much once again. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the close of this function. I would like to thank you in a very special way for your attention, for your time, and for your comments, and for making it a wonderful occasion. We know so much has been said, so much has been written, but we look forward to moments that these can be either put into practice. We hope the recommendations will not expire before implementation, because at the end of the day, if they're not implemented, then the recommendations go to waste. We know a lot of departments have been spoken about, and one or two have been brought to the fore, and it's only our prayer, the Uganda Law Society, that these shall help to make Uganda a better place in a democratic state. I would like to welcome the head rule of law, Ms. Afra Appeal, to render unto us the closing remarks. I want to thank you so much once again.
As we come to the close of this occasion, allow me to express our sincere appreciation to everyone who has joined us for the launch of the Uganda Law Society Rule of Law Report. We are grateful to our distinguished guests, members of the judiciary, government institutions, development partners, civil society organizations, members of the bar, the media, and all the other participants for taking the time to engage with us and contribute to the discussions today. For the Uganda Law Society, this report is part of an ongoing process. We continue to document developments, engage institutions, support those whose rights have been violated, and continue to offer legal aid and pro bono support. The discussions we have had remind us that promoting the rule of law and protecting human rights cannot be the responsibility of one institution alone. It requires sustained engagement, collaboration, and a willingness to work together, even where we may have different perspectives. The Uganda Law Society is committed to collaboration. Our doors are open to partnerships and joint initiatives with stakeholders who share our commitment to advancing human rights, constitutionalism, access to justice, and the rule of law. I once again thank you all for your participation, your contributions, and your continued support for the work of Uganda Law Society. I wish you all a safe journey and a productive day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Departure at leisure. May God bless you on your return, and we pray that the Lord Almighty will watch over us as we continue to ensure access to justice. Thank you so much, Robert Benon Jirua, your moderator and host. May God bless you, and thank you.